My name is William Bill MacAllister, and I'm 75 years old. For the past 50 years, I built the biggest cattle ranch in West Texas, 15,000 acres of prairie land, 600 head of cattle, and a main house that's been featured in Texas Monthly magazine twice. But none of that matters when your own son decides you're worth more dead than alive. It started 6 months ago when Doc Henderson gave me the news. Early stage Alzheimer's. My hands shake a little now, and sometimes I forget where I put my keys. But my mind is still sharp enough to know when someone's planning to kill me. That morning, my son Travis came into my bedroom with that fake smile plastered on his face. He's 42 now, runs 3 barbecue restaurants in Austin, called Big Bill's Barbecue, named after me, of course. Used to make me proud. Not anymore. Dad, what do you say we take a drive? Get some fresh air, maybe head out to that place near Big Bend you always loved. I looked at him carefully. Travis hadn't suggested we spend time together in over a year. Something was wrong. Big Bend? That's 4 hours away, son. Why the sudden interest? Just thought it'd be good for you, Dad. You know, before things get harder. The way he said, before things get harder, sent a chill down my spine. But I'm not a coward. 75 years on this earth taught me to face things head on. So I nodded. All right, Travis, let's go. My daughter-in-law Sarah wasn't home. She's a nurse at Austin General, works night shifts twice a week. Sweet woman, Filipino-American, 36 years old. And the only person in this house who actually cares whether I wake up in the morning. She'd been taking care of me since the diagnosis, making sure I took my medications, helping me remember appointments. Travis didn't know it, but Sarah had set up a tracking app on my phone months ago just in case I wandered off during one of my confused episodes. That app would save my life. Travis drove us in his Silverado, heading west out of Austin. At first, we made small talk: the ranch, the cattle prices, the weather. But as we got further from the city, he got quieter. I watched him glance at his phone every few minutes, like he was checking something, or timing something. 4 hours later, we were deep in the desert near Big Bend. Not at a hotel or a campground, somewhere much worse. Travis pulled off Highway 118 onto a dirt road that looked like it hadn't seen a vehicle in years. Mesquite bushes scraped against the truck, and dust clouds rose behind us. Travis, where exactly are we going? Just a little further, Dad. There's a place out here I want you to see. Finally, we arrived at what might have once been a motel. Maybe in the 1950s. Now it was just a shell-faded paint, broken windows. A sign that read, Desert RSTMTEL, with half the letters missing. No other buildings for miles. No phone signal. Nothing but rattlesnakes and scorpions. Travis stopped the truck but left it running. This is it, Dad. This is where you'll be staying for a while. My heart sank. What are you talking about, son? He wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, Dad. I really am. But I need you to stay here for a bit. I've got some things to take care of. Travis, I have Alzheimer's. I can barely remember to take my pills. You can't leave me out here. He finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes scared me more than the desert around us. It wasn't anger or hatred, it was calculation. Cold, financial calculation. Someone will come check on you in a few days. Just stay put. A few days? Travis, there's no water here. No food. What are you? But he was already reaching across me, opening my door. I'm sorry, Dad. I really am. Before I could react, he pushed me out. My old bones hit the dirt hard. By the time I struggled to my feet, Travis was grabbing my phone from my shirt pocket. Travis, give me back my phone. What the hell are you doing? You won't need this, Dad. Trust me. And then, in what felt like slow motion, my son, my own flesh and blood, threw my phone into the brush about 20 yards away. I heard it land with a distant thud. Travis, but he was already in the truck, turning around. As he drove away, dust swirling behind him, I saw him look at me one last time in his rearview mirror. Then he was gone. The silence of the desert closed in around me. The temperature was already over 90 degrees, and it was only noon. By evening, it would drop to 40. I was wearing a thin shirt and jeans, nothing that would keep me alive out here for long. I tried the motel door. Locked. The windows were too high for me to reach, and even if I could. The glass was still intact. I was trapped outside with no water, no food, no phone, and no way to get help. That's when I understood. Travis wasn't coming back. He'd left me here to die. And somewhere in Austin, my son was probably already calling his insurance agent. 70 miles away in Austin, Sarah MacAllister was just waking up from her night shift sleep. She glanced at her phone 2:47 p.m. She'd slept through most of the day, which was normal after working 12 hours at the hospital. But something felt off. She walked downstairs, expecting to hear Bill's television or see him in his recliner reading the newspaper. The house was silent. Bill? Travis? No answer. She checked the garage, both trucks were gone. That was strange. Bill rarely went anywhere without telling her first, and Travis usually spent Saturdays at his restaurant. Sarah made herself coffee and tried calling Bill's phone. It went straight to voicemail. She tried Travis. He answered on the third ring. Hey Sarah, what's up? Where are you? Where's Bill? Oh, we went for a drive. Dad wanted to get out of the house, you know how he gets. We're just cruising around. Sarah frowned. That didn't sound like Bill. He hated cruising around. He liked having a destination, a purpose. Where exactly are you cruising? Just around Austin. We'll be back for dinner. Don't worry about it. Something in Travis's voice made her stomach tighten. She'd been a nurse for 14 years. She knew when people were lying. And Travis was definitely lying. Okay, see you at dinner. She hung up and immediately opened the Find My app on her phone. She'd set it up with Bill's permission 6 months ago, after he'd wandered away from the ranch and gotten lost for 3 hours. She'd told Travis about it, but he'd seemed disinterested at the time. The app loaded slowly, and when it finally showed Bill's location, Sarah's blood ran cold. His phone was showing a location near Big Bend National Park over 4 hours away. And according to the timestamp, he'd been there for 3 hours already. Cruising around Austin, she muttered. You lying son of a bitch. Sarah had grown up in Houston, the daughter of Filipino immigrants. Her father had taught her 2 important lessons: family is everything, and trust your instincts. Right now, her instincts were screaming that something was very, very wrong. She grabbed her keys, filled 2 large water bottles, threw some protein bars in a bag, and headed for her car. As she drove, she kept checking the app. Bill's location hadn't moved. He was stationary in the middle of nowhere. 4 hours later, as the sun began to set, Sarah turned off Highway 118 onto the same dirt road Travis had taken. Her Honda CR-V wasn't built for this terrain, but she pushed forward anyway. Branches scraped her paint. Rocks pinged against her undercarriage. And then she saw it, the abandoned motel, silhouetted against the orange desert sunset. And sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall, was Bill MacAllister. Sarah jumped out of the car before it even fully stopped. Bill. Oh my God, Bill. He looked up at her with hollow eyes. His lips were cracked and bleeding. His shirt was soaked with sweat. Sarah? Is that really you? She fell to her knees beside him, immediately checking his pulse, his pupils, his skin temperature. Nurse mode kicked in automatically. How long have you been here? Have you had any water? Since noon. Travis. He left me here, Sarah. My own son left me here to die. Sarah's jaw clenched. She helped Bill to his feet and guided him to her car, turning on the AC full blast. She handed him a water bottle. Sip slowly. Small sips. Don't chug it. As Bill drank, his eyes filled with tears. I knew he was in trouble. Financial trouble. But I never thought he'd actually. I know, Sarah said softly, though her insides were burning with rage. I know. After Bill had some water and a protein bar, Sarah made a decision. Bill, we need to get you to a hospital. No. What? Bill, you've been in the desert for 6 hours with no water. You could have heat stroke, kidney damage. No hospital. Bill's voice was firm despite his weakness. Not yet. Why not? Bill looked at her with a strange expression, part anger, part calculation, part something she'd never seen in him before. Because I want to see what Travis does when he thinks I'm dead. Sarah stared at him. What are you talking about? Sarah, my son just tried to kill me. For money. For the ranch, for the insurance, for whatever he thinks he'll inherit. And I need to know. I need to know if this was planned or if it was desperation. I need to know who my son really is. Bill, take me to New Orleans. I have an old Marine buddy there, Jack Rousseau. He owns a small hotel in the French Quarter. We can stay there while we watch what Travis does. Sarah shook her head. This is crazy. We should call the police right now. And tell them what? That my son drove me to the desert and left me? With my Alzheimer's, they'll think I'm confused. No, Sarah. I need proof. Real proof. And I need Travis to show his true colors before I decide what to do. Sarah looked at Bill for a long moment. This wasn't the slightly confused old man she'd been caring for. This was the Bill MacAllister who'd built a cattle empire from nothing. This was the Marine who'd served in Vietnam. This was a man on a mission. All right, she finally said. New Orleans it is, but on one condition. What? You let me stop at a hospital in San Antonio for a quick checkup. Just to make sure you're stable. Then we go to New Orleans. Bill smiled a tired, sad smile. Deal. As they drove away from the desert motel, Sarah kept glancing at Bill in the passenger seat. He was staring out the window, and she could tell he was thinking about Travis. About what his son had done. About what would come next. Bill, she said softly. What are you planning? He didn't look at her. Just kept watching the desert roll past. I'm planning to give my son exactly what he wanted. He wanted me dead? Fine. Let him think I'm dead. And let's see what kind of man he really is when he thinks nobody's watching. Sarah's hands tightened on the steering wheel. She'd married into this family 5 years ago, and she'd always suspected Travis had a dark side. But attempted murder? That was beyond anything she'd imagined. And what if he's worse than you think? She asked quietly. Bill finally turned to look at her, and in his eyes was a sadness deeper than the desert night. Then at least I'll know the truth before I die. And I can make sure the ranch goes to someone who deserves it. The implication hung in the air between them. Sarah was that someone, and they both knew it. 3 days passed. 3 days during which Travis MacAllister went about his life as if nothing had happened. He showed up at Big Bill's barbecue, managed his staff, smiled at customers. He came home each night, kissed Sarah on the cheek, and asked about her shift at the hospital. He never once asked about his father. Sarah played her part perfectly. That first night, when Travis came home, she'd been sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her phone. Hey honey, how was work? She looked up at him, and for a moment, she saw something flicker across his face. Fear? Hope? Fine, she said. Hey, did your dad call you? He hasn't called me. Travis's face relaxed almost imperceptibly. Oh, yeah, he texted. Said he's staying with some old friends for a few days. You know how he likes his independence. Sarah nodded slowly, as if she believed him. That's weird though. He usually tells me when he's going somewhere. Alzheimer's, babe. Probably forgot to mention it. The casual way Travis used his father's disease as an excuse made Sarah's skin crawl. But she kept her face neutral. Yeah, probably. Well, I hope he's having fun. Meanwhile, in New Orleans, Bill was settling into the Hotel Rousseau. A small boutique hotel in the French Quarter that Jack had bought after retiring from the Marines. Jack had taken one look at Bill's condition and immediately offered him the best room in the house, no questions asked. Well, almost no questions. You gonna tell me what the hell is going on, Mac? Jack asked over bourbon on the hotel's courtyard patio. Bill told him everything. When he finished, Jack was silent for a long moment, then poured them both another drink. Your boy tried to kill you. Yep. And you want to see what he does next? Yep. Jack shook his head. You always were a stubborn son of a bitch. All right, I'm in. What do you need? I need you to keep me hidden. And I need you to help Sarah with something. What's that? We're going to make Travis think I'm really gone. And we're going to document everything he does. Back in Austin, Sarah was implementing phase 2 of the plan. On day 4, she called Travis at work, her voice shaking with manufactured panic. Travis, I'm really worried about your dad. He hasn't called in 4 days. That's not like him, even with the Alzheimer's. Through the phone, she could hear Travis pause. I'm sure he's fine, honey. But what if he's not? What if he wandered off somewhere? What if he's confused and lost? Sarah, don't panic. I'm sure. We should file a missing person report. The silence on the other end lasted 3 full seconds. A missing person report? Don't you think that's extreme? Extreme? Travis, your father has Alzheimer's and hasn't contacted anyone in 4 days. What if something happened to him? Sarah was impressed with her own acting. Years of dealing with panicked family members in the had taught her exactly how a worried daughter-in-law should sound. Okay, Travis finally said. Let me make some calls first. Check with his friends, the guys at the ranch. If I don't find anything by tonight, we'll think about a missing person report. Promise? Promise. But Travis didn't call any of Bill's friends. Sarah knew this because she'd asked Jack to have someone monitor Travis's phone records, a favor from another ex-Marine who worked in private investigation. Instead, Travis made 3 calls that afternoon. First call Continental Life Insurance, asking about the payout process for a missing person claim. Second call Morrison and Associates, a real estate attorney, asking about estate settlement when someone goes missing. Third call his bank, checking the current balance on the ranch's line of credit. Sarah received screenshots of the phone records that evening. Each one felt like a knife to the heart, not for her, but for Bill. This was proof that Travis wasn't just desperate. He was planning, calculating, treating his father's death like a business transaction. She called Bill immediately. Are you sitting down? What happened? She told him about the calls. Bill was quiet for a long time. Bill? Are you okay? I'm fine, Sarah. I guess I hoped I was wrong. That maybe Travis panicked and made a terrible mistake in the desert. But this is premeditated. We have proof now. We can go to the police. Not yet. I need more. I need Travis to show me who he really is, all the way. Keep going with the plan. That night, Sarah confronted Travis at home. She was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open, pretending to fill out a missing person report. What are you doing? Travis asked, his voice tight. I'm filing a missing person report for Bill. You didn't call me back, so I'm doing it myself. Travis's face went pale. Sarah, honey, I don't think that's necessary. Not necessary? Travis, your father is missing. How can you be so calm about this? I'm not calm, I'm trying to be rational. Dad probably just went on one of his trips and forgot to tell us. You know how he's been lately with the Alzheimer's. Sarah stood up, genuine anger now mixing with her performance. Don't use his disease as an excuse for your lack of concern. I've been taking care of him for 6 months while you've been too busy with your restaurants to even visit him. That's not fair. What's not fair is that I'm the only one who seems to give a damn that he's missing. Travis raised his hands defensively. Okay, you're right. Let's file the report. Together. Tomorrow morning. Sarah studied his face. She could see the calculation behind his eyes, trying to figure out how to look concerned while not actually wanting to find Bill. Fine. Tomorrow morning. The next day, they went to the Austin Police Department. Sarah gave an Oscar-worthy performance as the worried daughter-in-law. Travis played the concerned son, though Sarah noticed he downplayed the severity of Bill's Alzheimer's and kept mentioning how Bill liked to travel on a whim. The detective taking the report, a sharp-eyed woman named Martinez, seemed to pick up on something off about Travis's demeanor. Mr. MacAllister, when was the last time you saw your father? Travis hesitated for just a moment. About a week ago. We had breakfast together. Liar, Sarah thought. You left him in the desert 5 days ago. Detective Martinez made a note. And he seemed fine? No signs of confusion or distress? He seemed good. Happy, even. Talked about wanting to take a road trip. Another lie. Sarah's hands clenched under the table, but she kept her face worried and innocent. After they filed the report, Travis seemed to relax. He probably thought this was just a formality, that Bill's body would eventually be found in the desert. And it would look like a confused Alzheimer's patient wandered away and died of exposure. Tragic, but not suspicious. What Travis didn't know was that Detective Martinez had already received an anonymous tip that morning, a detailed email from an untraceable account, outlining Travis's financial troubles. The insurance policies on Bill, and suggesting she might want to check Travis's phone records from the day Bill went missing. Jack's private investigator friend was very thorough. That evening, Sarah called Bill with an update. The police report is filed. Travis played concerned son perfectly. Almost too perfectly. What do you mean? He was smooth, like he'd practiced. Detective Martinez noticed it too, I could tell. Good. That's good. Now comes the hard part, Sarah. What's that? You need to tell Travis you want to go to the desert. To the last place I might have been. To look for me. Sarah's breath caught. You want me to take him back to where he abandoned you? Exactly. I want to see if he'll go. And if he does, I want to see how he reacts when you start asking questions about why we're out there. Record everything. Your phone, your car camera, whatever you can. Bill, this is getting dangerous. If he tried to kill you once, he won't hurt you. You're too valuable. You're the nurse who took care of me, the daughter-in-law everyone loves. If something happened to you right after I disappeared, he'd be the prime suspect. Sarah wasn't entirely convinced, but she trusted Bill's instincts. All right, I'll suggest it tomorrow. The next morning at breakfast, Sarah pushed her eggs around her plate and said, Travis, I've been thinking. Maybe we should drive out to Big Bend. Your dad always loved it there. Maybe he went there and, I don't know, got confused or lost. Travis's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Big Bend? That's pretty far, Sarah. I know, but we have to do something. I can't just sit here. Please, Travis, let's go look. She watched him war with himself. If he said no, it would look suspicious. If he said yes, he'd have to go back to the scene of his crime. Finally, he nodded. Okay, yeah, you're right. Let's go this weekend. We'll drive out there and look around. Sarah sent Bill a text under the table. He agreed. Going this Saturday. Bill's response perfect. Time for phase 3. We're coming home. Saturday morning arrived with clear Texas skies. Sarah and Travis loaded up the Silverado with water, supplies, and a first aid kit, just in case we find Dad and he needs help. Travis's hands shook slightly as he threw the bags in the truck bed. They drove in near silence for the first 2 hours. Sarah kept glancing at Travis, watching his jaw tighten as they got closer to Big Bend. She had her phone positioned in her purse with the camera recording a trick she'd learned from Jack's pie friend. You okay? She asked. You seem tense. I'm fine. Just worried about Dad, that's all. Another lie. Sarah could practically see the sweat beading on his forehead. When they turned onto Highway 118, Travis's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. Sarah decided to push. Travis, why do you think your dad would come out here? Did he ever mention Big Bend lately? What? No, I mean, maybe? I don't remember. It's just such a specific place. Such a long drive for someone with Alzheimer's. How would he even get here? Travis's voice was sharp. I don't know, Sarah. Maybe someone drove him. Maybe he took a bus. People with Alzheimer's do unpredictable things. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to understand. They drove another 30 minutes, and then Sarah said quietly, Travis, did you and your dad have a fight before he disappeared? The truck swerved slightly. What? No. Why would you ask that? I don't know. It's just, you seem more nervous than worried. And the last few months, I've noticed tension between you two. There's no tension. Everything's fine. Is it about money? I know the restaurants have been struggling. Travis slammed on the brakes, and the truck skidded to a stop on the shoulder. He turned to Sarah, his face red. Why are you interrogating me? My father is missing, and you're acting like I did something wrong. Sarah kept her voice calm, channeling every ounce of nursing professionalism she had. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just trying to understand what happened. We're supposed to be a team, Travis. He stared at her for a long moment, then turned back to the wheel and started driving again. Sorry, I'm just stressed. Let's keep looking. 15 minutes later, Sarah recognized the dirt road. Turn here. What? Why? I don't know. I just have a feeling. Humor me. Travis had no choice but to turn. As they bumped along the dirt road, Sarah watched his face grow paler and paler. And then, there it was, the Desert Rest Motel, looking even more desolate in the harsh midday sun. What is this place? Sarah asked, playing innocent. I don't know. Just an old abandoned motel. Should we check it out? Maybe your dad. He wouldn't be here. Let's go back. But Sarah was already getting out of the truck. I want to look around. It'll only take a minute. She walked toward the motel, and after a moment's hesitation, Travis followed. Sarah made a show of checking the doors, looking in windows, calling for Bill. Then she walked to the exact spot where she'd found Bill 6 days ago. Travis, look at this. There, in the dirt, were Bill's boot prints. And tire tracks from 2 vehicles, Travis's truck and Sarah's CRV. Travis's face went ashen. Those could be from anyone. Could be, Sarah said softly. But look, these boot prints are exactly your dad's size. And they lead nowhere. Like someone was just sitting here. Waiting. Sarah, let's go. This place is creepy. She turned to face him. Travis, did you bring your father here? What? No. Why would I? Because these are fresh tracks. Less than a week old. And this is a very specific place, Travis. Not somewhere someone would just stumble onto. Sarah, you're being paranoid. Am I? Because right now, you look terrified. Not worried. Terrified. What are you scared of, Travis? He grabbed her arm, not hard enough to hurt but firm enough to scare her. We're leaving. Now. As they drove back toward Austin in tense silence, Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from Bill. I'm at the ranch. Bring him home. Sarah's heart pounded. This was it. The final confrontation. Travis, I need to go by the ranch. I left something there last week. Can't it wait? No. It's important. Just a quick stop. Travis grudgingly agreed. As they pulled up the long driveway to the MacAllister ranch, Sarah saw Jack's rental car parked near the barn. And there, sitting in a rocking chair on the front porch like he'd never left, was Bill MacAllister. Travis slammed on the brakes so hard Sarah had to brace herself against the dashboard. What the? Dad? Bill stood up slowly, leaning on his cane. He looked stronger than he had in months. Anger is a powerful motivator. Travis stumbled out of the truck, his face a mask of shock. Dad? How? When did you get back? About an hour ago. Had a nice little vacation in New Orleans. Good to see you too, son. Sarah got out of the truck, positioning herself between the men. Travis was looking at Bill like he was seeing a ghost. But you were. We were looking for you. We filed a missing person report. Did you? Bill's voice was ice cold. That's interesting, because from what I hear, you weren't looking for me at all. You were looking for my insurance payout. Travis's mouth opened and closed. I don't. What are you talking about? Cut the bullshit, Travis. The profanity shocked everyone. Bill never cursed. He walked down the porch steps, moving with more purpose than Sarah had seen in months. I know what you did. I know you drove me to that desert motel and left me there to die. I know you took my phone and threw it in the brush. I know you've been calling insurance companies and lawyers. I know everything. Travis's face went through a series of expressions: shock, denial, and finally, desperate calculation. Dad, you're confused. The Alzheimer's. Don't. Bill's voice cracked like a whip. Don't you dare use my disease to cover up what you did. I was there, Travis. I remember every single second of you abandoning me in the desert heat. Sarah watched Travis crumble. His shoulders sagged, his face crumpled, and suddenly he looked like a scared little boy. Dad, I was desperate. The restaurants are failing. I'm $3 million in debt. The creditors were threatening to. So you decided to kill me for the insurance money? For the ranch? I didn't mean for it to go that far. I just panicked. I thought maybe if you were gone, all the problems would. Would what? Disappear? Travis, I'm your father. You left me to die of heat exposure in the desert. Do you understand what you did? Travis fell to his knees in the dirt driveway. I'm sorry. God, Dad, I'm so sorry. I was out of my mind. The debt, the pressure, the gambling, Bill said quietly. Travis's head snapped up. How did you? I've known about your gambling problem for 6 months, son. The poker games in Austin. The trips to Louisiana casinos. The online betting. I've known about all of it. Travis stared at his father in disbelief. You knew? Then why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to believe you'd come to me. That you'd ask for help. That you'd prove you were the son I raised, not a coward and a would-be murderer. Jack stepped out from the barn, where he'd been watching. Bill, you want me to call the sheriff now? Travis's head whipped around. The sheriff? Bill held up a hand to Jack. Not yet. He looked at his son, and Sarah saw tears in the old man's eyes. Travis, you tried to kill me. By all rights, I should have you arrested right now. But you're still my son. So I'm going to give you one chance to make this right. Anything, Dad, anything. I'll do anything. You're going to check yourself into a residential treatment program for gambling addiction. 90 days, minimum. Travis nodded frantically. Yes, okay, yes. You're going to sign over the restaurants to me, and I'm going to sell them to pay off your debts. All of them. But Dad, those restaurants are all I have. They're all you have because I gave them to you. I put up the money, I co-signed the loans. And you nearly destroyed them with your gambling. Travis looked like he was going to argue, then dropped his head. Okay, when you get out of treatment, you're going to work. Real work. On this ranch. You're going to muck stalls, mend fences, and learn what it means to build something with your own 2 hands again. How long? As long as it takes for me to trust you again. Could be a year. Could be 5 years. Could be never. Travis was crying now, big hitching sobs. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. Bill's voice softened just slightly. I know you are, son. But sorry doesn't change what you did. Sorry doesn't erase the fact that I sat in that desert for 6 hours wondering if my own child cared whether I lived or died. Sarah spoke up for the first time. Travis, you also owe me an apology. He looked at her, confused. What? I've been taking care of your father for 6 months. While you were gambling away your inheritance, I was making sure he took his medications, got to his appointments, didn't wander away and get lost. And you repaid me by trying to kill him and lying to my face about it. Travis crawled over to Sarah on his knees. Sarah, I'm sorry. You've been nothing but good to this family, and I. Save it, she said coldly. I'm not the one you tried to kill. But understand this, I will be watching you. Every single day. And if you ever do anything to hurt Bill again, I won't call the sheriff. I'll handle it myself. The steel in her voice made Travis flinch. Jack, watching from the barn, gave Sarah an approving nod. Bill spoke again. There's one more condition. What? You're going to sit down with me and a lawyer, and we're going to revise my will. Sarah is going to be co-executor of my estate. And 50% of this ranch will go to her when I die. What? Travis looked betrayed. But I'm your son. This ranch has been in our family for 3 generations, and you almost threw it away for a poker pot. Sarah has shown more loyalty to this family in 6 months than you've shown in 6 years. She deserves it. Travis looked at Sarah, then at his father, and slowly nodded. Okay, if that's what it takes. Bill walked over to his son and placed a weathered hand on his shoulder. Travis, I don't know if I can ever forgive you for what you did. But I'm willing to give you the chance to earn back a fraction of my trust. Don't waste it. I won't, Dad. I promise. Your promises don't mean much to me anymore, son. Show me through your actions. As the sun began to set over the Texas prairie, painting the sky in shades of orange and red, the 3 of them stood in the driveway, a broken family trying to piece itself back together, knowing that some cracks can never be fully repaired. 6 months have passed since that confrontation on the ranch. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night, feeling the desert heat on my skin, tasting the dust in my mouth, remembering the sound of Travis's truck driving away. But those nightmares are getting less frequent. Travis kept his word at least partially. He checked himself into Promise's treatment center in Malibu 2 days after our confrontation. 90 days of intensive therapy for gambling addiction and, as it turned out, some deep-seated issues about living in my shadow. The therapist's report said Travis had been carrying resentment for years, feeling like he could never measure up to Big Bill MacAllister, the legendary rancher. I sold Big Bill's barbecue restaurants for $1.2 million, far less than they were worth at their peak, but enough to pay off most of Travis's debts. The rest I covered myself. Call me a fool, but he's still my son. When Travis got out of treatment, he came back to the ranch. He didn't say much that first week. Just showed up every morning at 5 a.m., put on his work gloves, and did whatever needed doing. Mucking stalls, fixing fences, feeding cattle. His hands got blistered and his back got sore, and I could tell he hated every minute of it at first. But something interesting happened around month 3. I was watching him from the barn one morning. He was mending a fence post. Really putting his back into it, and I realized he wasn't checking his phone every 5 minutes anymore. Wasn't looking at his watch, counting down until he could quit. He was actually working, really working. That evening, he came up to the house covered in dust and sweat. Sarah had made her famous chicken adobo, a recipe from her grandmother in Manila. The 3 of us sat down to eat, and for the first time in months, Travis looked me in the eye. Dad, I want to thank you. I raised an eyebrow. For what? For not giving up on me. For giving me this chance, even though I didn't deserve it. I didn't respond right away. I chewed my food slowly, letting him sit with his words. You still don't deserve it, I finally said. But maybe someday you will. He nodded, accepting that. I've been thinking about something my therapist said. He asked me what I was really gambling for. At first, I said money, obviously. But he kept pushing. Finally, I realized. I was gambling because every bet was a chance to prove I was smart enough, lucky enough, important enough. To prove I was someone other than Bill MacAllister's son. And did you? I asked. Did you prove it? No. I proved the opposite. I proved that without your name, without your money, without your reputation, I was nothing. Sarah reached over and squeezed his hand. She's been harder to win over than me, rightfully so. But I've seen her soften toward him over these months, watching him genuinely change. You're not nothing, she said quietly. But you're not your father either. You need to figure out who Travis MacAllister is supposed to be. He smiled at her, a real smile, not the fake one he used to wear. I'm working on it. The real twist came 3 weeks ago. I'd gone into Austin for my monthly checkup with Doc Henderson. The Alzheimer's is progressing, my hands shake more now, I forget words sometimes. Last week I called Sarah, Margaret, twice before I remembered Margaret was my late wife. But Doc Henderson had some unexpected news. Bill, I've been reviewing your case with a specialist at Johns Hopkins. We think your original diagnosis might have been wrong. I stared at him. What? You don't have Alzheimer's. You have something called Lewy body dementia. Similar symptoms, but different progression. And more importantly, we've had some breakthroughs in treatment. There's a new medication protocol that's showing real promise in slowing the progression, even reversing some symptoms. I sat there in shock. So I'm not dying? You're 75 years old with a progressive neurological condition. But with this treatment, you could have another 10 good years. Maybe more. I drove home in a daze. 10 more years. 10 years to watch the ranch, to see if Travis really changes, to enjoy Sarah's cooking and Jack's visits and the sunset over the prairie. 10 years I almost didn't have because my son left me to die in the desert. When I got home, Travis and Sarah were waiting for me on the porch. I told them about the new diagnosis, the treatment, the prognosis. Travis's face crumpled, and he started crying again, something he's been doing a lot more of since treatment. Dad, I almost. If I had succeeded, you would have died thinking your son was a murderer. And now you have 10 more years, and I'm so sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry. I let him cry. Some things need to be cried out. That night, I called everyone together: Travis, Sarah, Jack, who'd stayed in touch and visited monthly, and my lawyer, Dorothy Chen. I'd made a decision. I'm revising my will again, I announced. Final version. Travis went pale. Dad, if you want to cut me out completely, I understand. Shut up and listen, I said, but not unkindly. Sarah, you're still getting 50% of the ranch. That hasn't changed. You earned it. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Bill, I don't need. I know you don't need it. That's why you deserve it. Now hush. I turned to Travis. The other 50% goes to you. But there are conditions. Anything. You have to work this ranch for 5 full years after I die. Actually work it, not just own it. If you sell it, gamble it away, or mess it up in any way, your half goes to Sarah completely. Travis nodded. I can do that. And there's something else. I'm setting up a foundation, the MacAllister Foundation for Alzheimer's and Dementia Research. I'm seeding it with $2 million. After I'm gone, 10% of the ranch's annual profits will go to the foundation in perpetuity. Everyone was silent. Dad, Travis said quietly. That's beautiful. It's practical, I corrected. I got lucky my diagnosis was wrong and I get more time. A lot of people don't get that lucky. If my money can help find cures, figure out better treatments, give other families more time. Well, that's a better legacy than just leaving money to my kid who tried to kill me. Travis flinched, but he didn't argue. He'll be living with what he did for the rest of his life. Good. He should. The lawyer drew up the papers, and we all signed. Afterward, Jack broke out a bottle of bourbon, the good stuff from Kentucky, and we sat on the porch watching the stars come out. You know what the wildest part of all this is? I said, mostly to myself. What's that? Sarah asked. If Travis had just come to me and told me he was in trouble, really in trouble, I would have helped him. No questions asked. I would have paid off his debts, got him into treatment, set him back on his feet. He's my son. That's what fathers do. Why didn't you? Jack asked. When you found out about the gambling, why didn't you intervene? I thought about that. Pride, maybe. I wanted him to be man enough to ask for help. To admit he'd made mistakes and needed his old man. Instead, he decided it was easier to kill me than to face me. That's the gambling addiction talking, Sarah said. It warps your thinking, makes you believe crazy things are rational. Maybe, I allowed. Or maybe he's just like I was at his age, too proud, too stubborn, too convinced he could fix everything himself. I built this ranch through sheer stubbornness. Maybe I taught him too well. Travis, who'd been quiet, finally spoke up. Dad, can I tell you something? Go ahead. That day in the desert, when I drove away, I made it about 20 miles before I pulled over and threw up. I sat there for an hour, trying to convince myself to go back. But I'd already thrown away your phone. I'd already left you there. And I was so deep in debt, so desperate, that I convinced myself this was the only way out. He paused, his voice breaking. The worst part is, I started planning how I'd react when they found your body. What I'd say at the funeral. How I'd comfort Sarah. I had it all scripted out. And you know what the really sick part is? I was actually relieved. Relieved that my problems would be solved. And now? I asked. Now I wake up every morning grateful you're alive. And terrified that I'm capable of what I almost did. Dr. Morrison, my therapist, says that's healthy. That acknowledging the darkness in yourself is the first step to making sure it never controls you again. Is it working? Jack asked bluntly. The treatment, the therapy, all of it? Travis looked at him. I haven't placed a bet in 6 months. I deleted all my gambling apps. I banned myself from every casino in Texas and Louisiana. I go to Gamblers Anonymous 3 times a week. So yeah, I think it's working. But I also know it's something I'll be fighting for the rest of my life. Good, I said, because the MacAllisters don't quit. Even when we're fighting ourselves. We sat there in comfortable silence for a while, passing the bourbon bottle. Listening to the night sounds of the ranch cattle lowing in the distance, crickets chirping, the wind rustling through the mesquite trees. Bill, Sarah said softly. Can I ask you something? Anything, darling. Do you forgive him? I looked at my son, really looked at him. 6 months ago, he was a desperate man who'd tried to murder his father. Now he was, what? A reformed man? A work in progress? Someone fighting his demons one day at a time? No, I said honestly. I don't forgive him. Not completely. Maybe not ever. Travis nodded, accepting this. But, I continued, I love him. And sometimes love means giving someone a chance even when they don't deserve forgiveness. It means believing they can be better than their worst moment. It means hoping that time and hard work can heal what seems broken beyond repair. I stood up, my joints creaking. 75 years old and still standing more than I could say 6 months ago. Travis, you asked me earlier what you proved by almost killing me. You want to know what you proved? What? You proved that you're human. Flawed, desperate, capable of terrible things. But you also proved something else in these last 6 months. You proved you can change. You proved you can face your demons. You proved that maybe, just maybe, there's some of your old man's stubbornness in you after all, the good kind. The kind that doesn't quit even when things are hard. I walked over and put my hand on his shoulder. Don't waste your second chance, son. Not everyone gets one. I won't, Dad. I promise. Like I said before, promises don't mean much. Show me through your actions. Then watch me, Travis said, standing up to face me. Watch me for the next 5 years, 10 years, however long you've got. Watch me be the son you deserved all along. We shook hands, a firm, solid handshake. The kind that means something. That was 3 weeks ago. Today is my 76th birthday. Sarah made a feast: Filipino lechon, Texas brisket, Jack's famous Louisiana gumbo. Travis worked a full day on the ranch before coming in to clean up for dinner. My grandson flew in from college. Even Detective Martinez came by. She closed the case after I told her I'd handled things privately, though I could tell she wasn't entirely happy about it. After dinner, Travis stood up with a glass of wine. I want to make a toast, he announced. To Dad, who taught me that being a MacAllister means being tough, stubborn, and uncompromising. but who also taught me recently that being a MacAllister also means giving second chances, even when they're not deserved. Happy birthday, Dad. Everyone raised their glasses. To Bill. As I looked around the table at my family, broken, imperfect, but still standing, I thought about that day in the desert. How close I came to dying alone, believing my son was a monster. How Sarah's love and loyalty saved my life. How Jack's friendship gave me strength. How Travis's redemption gave me hope. The inheritance test. That's what Jack called it, my crazy plan to see who my son really was when he thought I was dead. In the end, we all got tested. Travis tested whether he could face his demons. Sarah tested whether she'd stand by family even when it hurt. I tested whether I could forgive the unforgivable. We all passed. Barely, but we passed. The sun set over the ranch, painting the sky in those brilliant Texas colors, orange and red and purple. My hands shook as I raised my glass, but my voice was steady. To family, I said. The one thing money can't buy and attempted murder can't completely destroy. To family, they echoed. And somewhere in the distance, a coyote howled at the rising moon, and the prairie grass whispered in the wind, and the MacAllister ranch stood solid and strong, just like it had for 3 generations. Just like it would for generations to come. Because some legacies are worth fighting for, even when your own son tries to kill you for them. If you're listening to this story, maybe you're wondering what the real lesson is. Is it about forgiveness, family, the dangers of gambling addiction, the power of second chances? It's all of those things. And none of them. The real lesson is this: people are complicated. They're capable of both tremendous love and terrible betrayal, sometimes in the same breath. Travis loved me and tried to kill me. Both things are true. And the other lesson? The people who show up when you're at your lowest, those are the ones who deserve your legacy. Sarah had no blood obligation to me, but she risked everything to save my life. That's family. Not DNA. Not legal documents. Choice. Action. Love. 3 months ago, I started the new treatment protocol. My hands shake less. My memory is sharper. Doc Henderson thinks I might make it to 85, maybe longer. That means I'll have almost a decade to watch Travis to see if this change is real or temporary. To see if the ranch can heal him the way it healed me 50 years ago when I came back from Vietnam, broken and angry. I'll also have a decade with Sarah, teaching her how to run this place, because whether Travis succeeds or fails, she needs to know. This land has a way of teaching you what matters. Hard work, honesty, resilience. And I'll have a decade to pour money into dementia research, so maybe other families won't have to face what we faced. So maybe other fathers won't have to wonder if their sons are capable of murder. That's my inheritance now. Not just money or land, but hope. Second chances. The belief that people can change, even when they probably don't deserve to. Is Travis a good man? I don't know yet. Ask me in 10 years. But he's my son. And that's worth something. That's worth everything. Thanks for listening to our story. If you're struggling with gambling addiction, there's help available. If you have a family member with dementia, you're not alone. And if you've ever made a terrible mistake and wondered if redemption is possible, well, I'm living proof that sometimes it is. The desert almost took me, but the ranch brought me home. And that makes all the difference.